Okay, so we're talking about point slope form now. And we've talked about slope, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And now we're going to talk about point slope form. So if I give you 2 points or I give you a point and a slope, you can put it in an equation. Point slope form works like this. We've got y minus y1, so we're going to plug in y1. M, so you should have m, that's the slope. So y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. We're only going to, these three, plug numbers in for. Y and x should be the same. Okay? So point slope form is best when you have a point and a slope. You replace your point, x1, y1, into the equation with x1 and y1. And your slope goes in where m is located in the formula. Okay? So this should be pretty straightforward. We're going to start with a couple where we have a point and a slope. And then we're going to do a few where we just are given 2 points. And we have to also find the slope. Okay. So remember again, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So right here, I'm looking at number 1. We pass through this point, 2, 3. I'm going to label it x1 and y1. And it has a slope of negative 1/2. That's my m. Okay? My slope. So I'm going to write down y minus y1, that's 3, equals m is negative 1/2 times x minus x1, that's 2. Now we are going to change this into slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. So what do I do first? So think distribution. There you go. Distribution, good. The thing with the arrows. Okay, so we get negative 1/2 x. Okay, so a negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 1/2. So if we have 1/2, let's think of it this way. If we have 1/2 twice, what do we have? A half and a half. There you go, so it's 1. Now what do we do to get y by itself?
You add 3.
Add 3. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. We're done. We can graph that pretty easily, right? So this, if somebody says make an equation, this isn't an equation. But if you have to graph it, it's so much easier to graph it in point slope, in slope intercept form, right? Because you do this at the y-axis, and then you'd go down 1 to the right 2, so it's easier. Yep. So let's try number 2 together, and then I'll let you guys work on 3 and 4 on your own, okay? So first, this is x1. This is y1. My slope right here, it even tells me it's m. Anybody else need to sign the RCTC form? Okay. All right. So we should have y minus 4 equals the slope times x minus x1, which is negative 1. 2 negatives make a? Okay. All right. Now what do? I want to get it in slope intercept, so I'm going to distribute. Good. So it gives me 4x plus 4. Now what do? Add 4 to both sides to get y by itself. Yes. Okay. I'm going to do 3 and 4 while you're doing 3 and 4. Quiet. Do it by yourself. Quietly. Be quietly confused. Okay. All right. So, all right. So let's look at this. I get y minus 2 equals negative 5/3 x plus 0, correct? Everybody's okay with this much of number 3. Then we're going to distribute, right? Yeah. Then we're going to distribute, and we get y minus 2 equals 5/3 x plus nothing, right? There's nothing over here. You could say plus 0 if you wanted. That's because we're going to then add the 2 to both sides. So we get y equals negative 5/3 x plus 2. We okay? Did the 0 throw us off?
Yep.
Yep.
I always forget. Oh yeah, it was like the negative 5/3.
Yep. Let's try this one. When we distribute 0 to both of these, so we should get y minus a negative 2 or y plus 2. We can change this to a plus. Equals 0 times x minus 4. When we distribute a 0, that just gives me 0, right? 0 times x is 0. 0 times negative 4 is 0, correct? That's kind of weird, I know. Now we're going to subtract 2 from each side. These cancel, and we get y equals negative 2. It's weird again because it's the zeros there. Okay. Let's look at number 5 and 6. They're different because we first have to figure out the slope. So let's label it x1, y1, x2, y2. And then we're going to do the slope, just like we did last night for homework, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So far, so good? So we go 5 minus 6 over negative 2 minus a negative 4. Two negatives make a... So 5 minus 6 is negative 1. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So that's my slope. That's my m. But I'm not done, right? Because now I'm going to plug it into point slope form. Y minus y1, which is 6, equals m, which is negative 1/2, times x minus x1, which is negative 4. So plus 4, good. Did I lose anybody? Okay, you get that it says I want to find an equation that passes through this. So now I have to use this slope and this point to put in point slope form. Good? Okay, what do I do now if I want to get it to slope intercept form? Distribute, good. So I get y minus 6 equals negative 1/2 x. And a negative times a positive is a negative. What's half of 4? 2, good. And then what do I want to do next? Adds that 6, yep. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. Good. Why don't you guys try number 6 on your own, and then we'll do it together.
Is this what our homework looks like? Yes.
Can we pull the door closed? I'm not sure why it's open in the first place. Okay. All right, so let's go over this now. We should have, sit down please. We should have x1, y1, x2, y2. We should have 3 minus a negative 7 over, yep, it turns into a positive, good. We should have that over 1 minus a negative 1 that turns into a positive. 7, 8, 9, 10 over 2 reduces to what, guys? 5. Okay, so that is my slope. That is my m. So then we're going to go y minus negative 7, because that's y1, equals m, which is 5, times x minus a negative 1. Now, we have two negatives next to each other, right? So we turn it into a positive. How did I get what? 5. So we go 3 minus a negative 7 is 3 plus 7, right? So that's 10. 1 minus a negative 1 is 1 plus 1, which is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we're going to, you added incorrectly. We're going to distribute 5. So we get y plus 7 equals 5x plus 5. And then what do I do next? Minus 7, good. So we get y equals 5x minus 2. Okay? So your homework's just like this, guys. You're just going to be finding slope, okay? You're going to find the slope. You're going to put it in point slope form and do that. So I am going to do a problem because there's one more thing I want to add to this. So I'm going to do a problem on your homework, and then you'll have less homework to do. So I'm going to have one more thing added to this. Just a little start of what we're going to get into tomorrow or Thursday. Are you ready? Okay, so we are going to look on the back of the homework. The front is just, the front is just what we have been doing It's all about, we're given 2 points, we have to find the slope, then we have to put it in point slope form. If I were you, what I would do before doing anything else would be to write that at the top, that slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I would write, please put your phones away, guys, point slope equals y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? If you want to put slope-intercept form too, because that's what we're looking for, all of these say y equals, so it would be slope-intercept form, which was y equals mx plus b. Okay? All right. Turn it over, and we're going to look on the back of this. These instructions say, find the equation of the line parallel to the given point. So we're going to do number 5 together. And we're going to talk about parallel, and then I'm just going to change, actually, the bottom homework slightly. Okay, so when a line is parallel to each other, what do we know about it? See, these two lines are parallel. What do we know about them? They never cross. Something about them is the same. They're not quite the same, because if they were the same, they'd be overlapping. They have the same what? Slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so if we have an equation right here, and it goes through this point, that means my slope for my new line is going to be 1/2. Okay? So now I'm going to put it in point slope form. I'm going to go y minus, this is my x1, y1, y minus y1, 2, equals my slope, 1/2, times x minus x1. And then I'm going to distribute. Am I going too fast? Okay. Okay, I slowed down. Shh. Less commenting on how fast I go, and maybe you'll catch up. Okay.
Y minus 2 equals 1/2 x minus 2.
Then we're going to distribute, and we get y minus 2 equals 1/2 x minus, because a positive times a negative is a negative. What's half of 4, guys? 2. Good. And then we would add 2 to both sides, right? And we're going to get y equals x. That's it. So what is my slope in this situation? Because my answer is 1/2 x. My slope is 1/2. What's my b? 0. Good. All right. So I am changing the bottom of these directions. We're not going to do perpendicular today. So please cross out for, I don't know why there's 2 7s either. There should be 7 and 8. But for the 2 7s on the bottom, please write the word parallel. I'm changing the directions. Okay, so you have the rest of the hour to work on this homework. There's only 7 questions you got to do, so it shouldn't be too bad.